want like streaming text over it. Fly tying night.
Gamakatsu SL12 size 1. It's the short version. Start your thread wraps. I use brown thread.
Can you slow down, please? I'm trying to keep up with you.
We're gonna have a brown head, so I'm gonna match the thread to the head color. Doesn't really matter because you cover it up anyways. You're gonna wrap your thread all the way, you want to get just past the hook bend, like start to go down the bend just a little bit. Take a pinch of dubbing. This is UVX Dub, but honestly you can use anything you want. You can use like the under fur from Craft Fur. It's just for like a hot spot of color, that's all it is.
What's a hot spot?
What's a hot spot? It's just like a contrast of color, like an egg sac. I always use like orange because it matches like an egg sac on a shrimp or a crab. But anything that like contrasts, and it kind of just gives them something to key in on. So if you get right past that curve, we're gonna just like, you can just take this and even it out a little bit.
Yeah, do the pinchy length adjustment thing.
Yep.
Got it.
And so you're gonna tie it down right in the center. Right in the center of that clump.
On the hook bend?
Yep, on the hook bend. Just right past the bend. And so when you wrap, you're gonna fold it back and tie it on over itself.
You say so.
You want that to be like, see how it's straight level? Like pretty much comes straight off the back of the hook. And if you have like a little gap right there, you can just fill that gap with a little bit of thread. So we're gonna put our eyes over that.
Oh yeah, nailed it.
Sweet.
Do you want this extra dubbing I pulled out of it?
No. We're gonna take
This is valuable space flies material.
And we're gonna take these easy shrimp eyes. Hold them up. We're gonna take these easy shrimp eyes because they're easy. They're like on a single tab, so you don't have to worry about like the placement or like adjusting them or messing with them. We can cut just a little bit off the end of these, like 1/8 of an inch.
How many Malaysian children had to die for the eyes?
They're made in Denmark.
Oh, never mind. I hate Danish people.
And so you're gonna tie that in to where, like right where they start to V, that's gonna be right on top of that dubbing ball.
Roger. So you do this for a living, huh?
Yep. What? Yeah. We'll get there.
Do you think anybody can do this for a living, or just you?
Just me. The only one in the world that ties flies.
You and all the Danish children.
Actually, don't tie flies for a living. I sell them mostly, but I did invent this one.
So the Jeff Bezos.
And did name this one.
He's the Jeff Bezos of fly time.
The O.J Shrimpson. We don't always have space names. Occasionally we'll branch out. And this one I tied the week that O.J. died, and it just felt natural.
You can't just ignore a pun like that. You can't just leave that for the fishes.
Got the eyes in straight on the top.
They're pretty straight. They're straight enough for me.
Yep. And you can spread them out a little bit, and they'll like stay spread.
Oh, nice.
So next we're gonna do some aqua hair, which is just premium craft fur and tan. Premium craft fur and tan. We're gonna cut. We're just gonna cut a little, just a little clump, not a ton. And then we can take out the under fur.
We're taking out the underfur?
Yep.
Okay. I leave it in on my bass flies because I like the extra volume, but I guess we're not working.
No, not on this. So if you leave the under fur in, it'll be like too much of a bump here, because we're gonna cover it all with that, but it'll still make like a. We want it nice and tapered. So always take just a few long hairs out, re-taper it, because this fly is not super long. It's like 3 inches total. I use my vise. I know everybody's vise is different, but this peak vise, I always do these shrimp basically to like right on the end of the vise head.
Do I have enough?
Like that. Do a little bit more. And trim just a little bit off. Even this is a little bit skimpy, but it's better to have too little than too much.
What happens if you have too much?
It's just too bulky. There's no need. And when I tie this in, I like to hold it at an angle like you would with bucktail. I do the same thing with craft fur. Like hold it at like a 45. And then it just wants to it just tapers a little bit nicer. And if you lay it flat, then it's just like a straight drop off, you know?
Are we tying this in the middle of the hook?
Yep, right in the middle. Just whatever you need to get that proper length. Everything's gonna stop at the same exact point as that dubbing. So the eyes, the dubbing, and if you want to bar it, which I always bar these, now's the time before you put the antenna on. Just dab each side, just with a Sharpie.
This feels really permanent markers too high stakes for me. Used to acrylics and just paint over it. Oh god, it's terrible.
You don't need much because it will bleed some.
Oh god.
Next, we're gonna use
Mustache.
Next, we're gonna use so stupid. Can't talk. It's black hole flash. Straight black crystal flash makes perfect shrimp antennas. Here, I'll give you this half. I only use half a strand. You're only going to use one piece. And double that over so you can put your thread forward just a hair. You can wrap forward just a little bit. What you can do is just fold this over. Just fold it over that thread.
Oh, I've done that before.
Like that, just hold it as a V with my hand on my fingers. Lay it on top, and then you can control that V. I just have them slightly splayed on each side. And I'm gonna wrap that back to the same exact position. And really half, if you cut the crystal flash in half and then double it over, it's pretty much the perfect length for an antenna. You want it just same length as your tail or just slightly longer. You can cut them even if you want.
I got problems. I got problems. Oh yeah. Did I do it right?
Yep. Yeah, just a little bit on each side. And once it gets in the water, it's gonna push it back anyway.
Yeah, it'll be fine once you start fishing.
Yep.
For sure.
And then the last material is Semperfli Extreme String. It's a super long chenille. Here, it's a better shot of it there. Super long chenille with flash and like synthetic fiber in it.
Made by Finnish children.
You're gonna wrap the whole head with it. It still doesn't take much. Take about 6 inches that I cut off.
I almost never trim my chenille before I tie it in, but you've tied so many flies that you know exactly how much you need, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be a little long, but you gotta have something to hold on to also. Yeah, so you want to advance the thread back to like pretty much in front of the hook point.
Okay.
That's like a good place to be, in the middle of the shank, because you want to tie in a good bit of this so it won't unravel that core. So I tie it straight on the top. So all the way back to where we finished off all those other wraps. And when that's tied in, you can advance all the way to the head or to the hook eye. And if you have like any type of like, yours is tapered perfect. So if you have any type of like steps, I like to just like, you know, do a couple wraps just to like make it tapered really nicely.
Smoother.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, and then we're going to palmer this all the way forward. I like to keep the wraps pretty tight together. You don't want them to overlap at all, but just right in front of the other ones. But make sure you pull these fibers back. You can put down like a little base of super glue to make it like durable, but really this stuff, I've caught a ton of fish on these flies and they never really unravel like you would think. Usually takes about 7 wraps or so on this size hook, which is a size 1. So I go all the way to the eye and then split the fibers a little bit just to get, this stuff's kind of wild, but if you split the fibers, just trap it good once just to hold it in place. Yeah, this stuff's really messy, but it's okay because it doesn't have to be pretty. We can comb it out in the end. And the whole point of the fly is to be messy, so there's that ton of movement, you know.
Makes sense to me. Okay, I'm going pretty much up to my thread.
Yep.
And then I'm just gonna tie it in.
Yeah, go right to the eye and just do like a cinch wrap just to lock it in place. Yep, and for a little extra security, I pull it all back. I pull everything, like your tag end and all those fibers back, and I wrap back over it just a couple times. Build just a little head
Before you trim it?
Before I trim it. That way it's like, you know, it's locked in and it's double back, so it's like super secure. It's a little overkill, but it doesn't hurt. I'm gonna trim that edge. And you can whip finish.
How do you do that?
You can use your tool. Or you can use your hand. Oh, you're going fancy.
See, everyone says that finger whip finishing is fancy, but I have never learned how to use a whip finish tool. And I feel like the tool is fancy.
And trim that tight.
Alright, what are we doing with this? Ooh, can I melt mine?
I melt mine, but you gotta be really careful not to burn.
So,
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
that's enough. And then I like to finish with a little bit of resin.
What's
how
many milligrams is it?
I use thin or super thin. Finish with the thin.
Oh
So
yeah.
you can see that UV hotspot in there.
Yep.
So to trim these, you can really just like, you could fish it totally like that. Perfectly fine.
Of course you can.
But I do give it like a little bit of taper, so I'll pull everything down. Just everything down from the top. So it's like,
You just push
Even
it
like
down
that.
over the hook point.
yeah,
kind
push
of
it down over the hook point, and then I just kind of follow the curve of the hook, and then just kind of back up to the eye. Not super tight around the eye. Just give it just a little bit of taper.
Oh, I like that.
And then once you start fishing it, like it looks wild, but once you start fishing it, that stuff flutters and moves. And so what I like about this is it has a ton of movement, but you don't have to actually add like silicone legs. Like everybody puts a ton of silicone legs. And you could add silicone legs to this one if you want, you know, just right after your eyes, you would do that. But they end up fouling most of the time. And then you're just like fighting that the whole time. So like this, with this Semperfli, there's like a ton of movement, and it keeps it like super simple and cheap and fast to tie. So it's pretty sweet stuff.
All right, let's compare. Whose is whose?
We'll let the viewers decide. Leave a comment, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Who's like?
I've got an idea. It's time to decide which fly is better, mine or Sam's. But it has to be a blind test.
That's his fly.
It's mine.
I win.